Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to send somewhat of a brief video, just sort of checking in on how everyone's doing with this online format now that we've had at least one class meeting online. I know we've done online format before, but in this new structure of the semester, I wanted to just check in and see how everyone is doing. I wanted to point out a few sort of updates with regards to the course structure, the syllabus, and, I've received a few questions from folks about some upcoming assignments and things like that. So I wanted to, instead of sending out an email, I wanted to post a video announcement kind of addressing some of the questions or maybe potential questions you may have down the road. I will post an announcement reiterating some of the things that I mentioned in this video as well. In case you miss it, or just for those who do better with things written, to have a copy of it that way as well. So the first thing that I wanted to point out is just the online discussion posts for every class period. So you would have noticed that there were two from our lecture yesterday. And I know that quite a few of you responded, but I absolutely know that not everyone from all of the sections of the course responded to all of those posts. I know that we are no longer doing attendance anymore. Those posts are not for grades, but if you think about our class and the way it's structured, we tend to turn to your neighbor and reflect on this, or turn to your neighbor and talk about that, or we have larger classroom discussions. And so these online posts, discussion posts are essentially those same opportunities. And so if you choose not to do it, it really is just hindering your ability to be able to learn and apply the information, which is what you're going to be required to do for an exam. So absolutely, we're not checking for grades. I will tend to pop in and give, general feedback or general answers or responses to things. But if you choose not to do it, it's only going to negatively impact your grade and how you do in this course overall. Another thing that I wanted to point out is, yes, we have an exam on Thursday, on tomorrow. Your essays posted some practice questions yesterday, so if you have not done so, go ahead and do so. Remember, in your syllabus, I do have a link for an older version of the sorry, I'm just pulling up the syllabus here. I have an older version of the website for the textbook that you can absolutely continue to use if you haven't been using it so far. It does have some helpful study material. I will say, just make sure that the chapter that we read coincides with whatever chapter of this older textbook. Some of the topics are different chapter numbers, and absolutely the stuff that focuses on clinical side of things, that material will not be the same, because there's been quite a few updates to that material. But I would definitely utilize that website for this material that will be on this exam, because all of that will be up to date and accurate information. If you are somebody who has a student visa and you are entitled to additional time for the exam, please send me just a picture of the visa that you would have had me sign earlier in the semester, and let me know, because I'll have to go into Canvas and specifically give you extra time. So if you don't tell me, you will only get the 75 minutes that everyone else will. If you remember in your syllabus, I mentioned that the exam will be timed. You can take it at any point in time in our regular sort of day. So from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., you can take it at any point in time during that time chunk, but you will only have the 75 minutes to do it. So make sure when you sit down and start it, you are prepared to do it for that period of time. What was the other thing? So the SONA research reflection, participating in that SONA research, it's still absolutely a requirement for the course. Studies will still continue to be posted over the duration of the course. And so again, continue to check online. I'll send things as I see them. But again, stay on top of doing that SONA research. As far as when it comes to submission, the only thing that you should be uploading onto Canvas as it pertains to that assignment is your reflection paper. There's two different assignments that you may see on Canvas. One of them is just SONA research for participation, and one of them is actually the reflection paper. It specifically says reflection paper there. That is the only spot where you should be uploading something. I will manually put in your participation credit. And as I've mentioned in the past, I get those numbers and those credits that you have received sent to me from the administrator over SONA. And so you do not need to post anything on there. You do not need to upload anything on there. You do not need to send me any screenshots of anything. I will get it. So I just wanted to point out that. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out has to do with your thinking about psychology paper. So the due date for the first round is now April 25th. It was supposed to be the 17th at first, so there's a little bit more time to submit it for that round, and then the second round is essentially the week after that. May 2nd is when the second round is due. If you go on Canvas, I should have pulled this up before, but if you go on Canvas, there is a document that talks about more details with regards to the TAP paper. It's called the TAP guidelines. And so it talks more specifically about the format, how many pages, what that should include. It talks about the fact that not only do you need to speak to that chapter or that reading that's assigned for your topic, but you also need to search on your own an empirical research article that also addresses that particular topic. And so you put those together as well as sort of applying it to some sort of everyday problem, and that's what your paper will be. So absolutely very different than the journal article analysis that you did, which really was just a summary of one particular paper. So if you go to the TAP guidelines document, if you scroll down past the different topic options, I provided a TAP example. And so I'm going to go through this. This is something that I would have talked about in class, and so I wanted to make sure I addressed this in this video to help clarify any questions that people have. So I've used as an example our psychology of learning chapter that we recently covered. This is obviously not a topic that's assigned because it's something we covered in class, but I figured this would make it somewhat easier for you to understand what it is that you're being required to do. So in the psychology of learning chapter, we learned about 3 different theories as it pertains to how we learn: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and observational learning. And so this particular example that I've given you, what I am encouraging you to do, and for the assignment, what you're being encouraged to do, is not summarize the entire chapter, but pick a particular topic, pick a particular theory, pick a particular idea, construct, whatever the case may be, and demonstrate your understanding of that. So in this example I have here, I say, for the psychology of learning chapter, maybe for my TAP paper, I would focus solely on operant conditioning as a form of learning. And so what I would do for the paper is I would summarize what operant conditioning is. I talk about positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, both positive and negative, things like that. Demonstrate my understanding of just the theory of learning in general. Then what I would do, and you don't have to do it in the specific order. I'm not giving you a specific order to do it. I'm not giving you a specific format necessarily other than APA. You can decide how you want to string everything together. But then maybe what I might do is say, an everyday problem that I could utilize operant conditioning to address would be something like potty training. A lot of our examples when we talked about operant conditioning had to do with kids and behavior modification sort of things. So in my example here, once I've done summarizing what operant conditioning is, I could say, an everyday problem that one could use operant conditioning to address would be that of potty training. And I could talk about the idea of using both positive and negative reinforcement to potty train a child. Then the last thing that you could do, or the last thing that you're required to do, is also incorporate some sort of research article, some sort of research study that also addresses operant conditioning in some way, shape, or form. And so in the example that I have in this document, I talk about finding a research article that speaks to the negative implications of positive punishment for children. So if I researched and found an article on spanking, for example, that's an example of positive punishment. I would also incorporate into my paper, there's research that talks about the negative implications of spanking, which is a form of positive punishment, how it impacts children emotionally, developmentally, whatever the case may be. And so that's what you would also include in your paper. So you are going to include a brief summary of a topic, of a theory, of a construct, of an idea, whatever the case may be, out of any given one of these topics, these chapters or these articles. From there, you will address some sort of everyday problem that you could use this theory, this idea, this construct, whatever the case may be, to better understand. And then you would also incorporate some sort of empirical research article, some sort of study that also addresses that same topic. And all of that you will incorporate in whatever order you choose. I think it makes the most sense to start with the summary, but whatever order you choose into this TAP paper, so that abstract that you will include for this is going to be very different than the abstract you would have done for your article analysis. Your summary of what this paper is going to be very different because it's a lot more that you're doing in this one than what you did in your first paper. So those are the things that I wanted to address in this video update right now. I'm trying to keep it very brief, and I already see I've gone over my 10 minutes that I wanted to do. So I will probably send another check-in later. Again, make use of that question discussion board that I put on Canvas. I've been checking in on that, multiple times a day just to see if there are any questions. Obviously, you can absolutely email me, but I think posting your questions on a more public forum like that could get other people's questions answered quicker than emailing me. You may not even know that you have a question about something, but somebody else could pose it, and then that could answer that question for you maybe down the road. So I hope everybody is doing well. I haven't received a ton of emails with challenges or struggles with getting online. Canvas seems to be working pretty well. My computer crashed recently, so I've been having to either use my tablet or my phone or use the business center here at the hotel until the computer that I ordered comes in. But hopefully everyone is doing well. Hopefully everyone's adjusting well. Definitely reach out if you need anything. But yeah, that's it for now. Again, I'll probably check in later on next week or maybe the week after just to see how things are going. All right. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Good luck with your exam tomorrow, and we'll check in again soon. Bye.